All right, family. You live with the general. You already know what time it is, man. We keep it flame over here. You feel me? You already know. We're gonna be talking about today old money, money Mayweather, out of money. You understand what I'm saying? Mayweather, out of money. Is he flat broke? Now, let me be first to say this. I have, it's like people want to celebrate the man being broke, which is some bullshit. That's not what we here to do. We are not here to even insinuate. We hoping that the man, this is just rumors. You feel me? We're hoping that this is just rumors, and everybody, because Floyd is he brag about his paper. He brags about his paper and having so much this, that, and the third. And so hold just a sec. We hoping that Money Mayweather ain't lost his paper because that just don't, and for people to celebrate that, that's broke nigga shit. That's what that is. That's broke nigga shit. You want to praise somebody for for falling down. You want to humble the man. Jokes coming in, this, that, and the third. You know, uh, but this is what we do. This is what we do. I don't have no animosity. Yeah, he's a braggadocious type of guy. He likes to flex with his paper. Come out, nigga got stacks. Bags and full of cheddar. That's what he do. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't, I mean, niggas been on the plantation forever. You see, so so I mean, motherfucker, now they want to floss. And you can't be mad at that. You cannot be mad at that. You see, and so but under the circumstances of what they're saying, uh, you know, under the circumstances of what they're saying, that somebody beat him out of his money. You would think that Money Mayweather would have more eyes, his eyes on his own paper. You see, oversight on his paper. Ain't no nigga count my money. I don't give a fuck. How you talking about letting another motherfucker outside your personal circle, nigga, count the money and you ain't checking? You see what I'm saying? How many of these superstars go broke cause they counting some accounting and shit, How do you give him full control over the money? That they could take them. So you say I guess he's an investor. Supposedly was investing the money, but still, even when you invest, when you sign, I sign. I got to see where this shit going. You see, and I got to get some updates and shit. You feel me? I got to have that shit on notification. Hey, I got to have some updates. You see, I got to talk to. It can't be no other kind of way. So for him to let somebody get away with $175 million, you feel me? And is that person rich as he is? Is that person rich as he is? Are you gonna sue somebody for 175 million? How you gonna get your money back? You know what I'm saying? How you gonna get your money back? Motherfucker file bankruptcy. I don't know. You understand? Motherfucker file bankruptcy on your ass or something. You know what I'm saying? Just to get out of having to pay for a lawsuit. I believe they could do that. I'm not for sure. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it's just ridiculous that Money Mayweather. But he. People was saying he was saying he been in some situations like over there in Dubai. Say they held him up over there in Dubai. We don't know if the allegations are true. We don't know if the allegations are true, but they were saying something about some some jewelry or something, wasn't paid for or something, and it was a situation in Dubai. And so the last time I seen him, he was saying he had bought some brownstones in New York. Say he had brought a whole damn near community of brownstones over there in New York. Said, all this is me. And I say, damn, money doing big things. But people went to laughing and saying, no, that's not true. And I say, I try to root for the guy, because he ain't the he not the business type of guy. I mean, when I say business, wearing the business suits and he's still, the type, hoodish, even though he tried to, present himself as a businessman, which, he is. He's a businessman. But because he a little more hood than your little Wall Street white boys, they try to disown the man. They try to clown him. They do that with our people. And I don't play into that shit. If the man can make money, he could counter shit. So he can make money, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's no dispute about that. And so at one time they were saying the man was worth $1 billion. How do you blow $1 billion, man? I mean, how do you do that? I don't, so I can't, I can't believe everything that people were saying out there until, 175 million. That's a lot of cheese, you see? That's a lot of grilled cheeses. You feel what I'm saying? 175 million. Yeah, I don't give a fuck if you do got $1 billion. That's a heavy hit. That's a heavy hit. That's a fifth of your paper. You see, that's a fifth of your paper. You know what I'm saying? Shit, you can't keep taking hits like that. You know what I'm saying? That you can't keep taking hits like that. That's just unacceptable. And so, and from now on, man, I don't like I say, even in my, I just, I came up where, I like to count it, the money. You feel what I'm saying? That's just how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? I like, because I could keep it where it need to be. You see what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Ain't no motherfucker gonna be sneaking down in the bag and taking shit, and then when you ain't got shit. That's just the formula that you see across the board. Somebody took somebody, and motherfucker who had billions ain't got a goddamn dollar. It's too many of these actors and too many of these sports celebrities and shit that end up with no money. They're just crazy. And they had paper. You see, they had paper, but they end up, and more time, and it ain't always just black people, but most of the time what is projected is, black people going broke. Shit, look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson Mike Tyson was on the way to making $1 billion. He would have been the first boxer to make $1 billion. He was on his way, you see, to making $1 billion. But he was railroaded. Mike Tyson was doing crazy shit out there buying tigers, and he was on some goddamn Michael Jackson shit, zoos and shit, and all these cars and and shit, and he's living like you gonna be champion forever. That's really what it was. And then the nigga ended up, man. Mike Tyson was down to like, man, listen, they saying Mike Tyson had went from like 300-400 million down to up under like $1 million. They saying fucking Holyfield doing bad. They say Holyfield doing bad. Because I remember when he had to sell his mansion and giving all his money over there to that damn preacher. You understand what I'm saying? Nigga giving all his money over there to that goddamn preacher. Yeah. Shit. And so that's what the fuck happened. You know what I'm saying? Now what? And preacher ain't gonna give you nothing. How the hell you get a preacher? He was giving the preacher millions of dollars. These niggas is foolish. You see what I'm saying? These niggas is foolish, nigga. You get a couple things, nigga, to let them know you land like that. You know, you get a couple toys and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? If you need to come out on a nigga, let them know how you living. But all that, you know, that just like that nigga, Rick Ross. He another nigga. I don't want to say the nigga. Maybe he counting his dollars real tight. But that nigga got how many cars? They say this nigga got a $50 million car collection. Now, it may retain its value. You see what I'm saying? And I believe it could retain its value because he's keeping his shit in pristine condition. So he probably can get every bit of his money back or close to it, or even or slightly more. You understand what I'm saying? Or slightly more, especially if you getting exotic, you know, collectibles and shit that's gonna retain the paper. You feel what I'm saying? And so I guess that can be a good investment. But you know, too many of our people's, and then the crazy shit is that why don't you niggas invest into the community? You know why? And we not talking about giving nobody shit. Why don't you invest in some businesses that you know that, especially that the black community, whether it's clothes, whether it's food, what any of that. You see what I'm saying? Investing in something you could put into the what's gonna generate money on a regular basis, gonna make you some money, gonna make you millions. You see, and employ the and all you see is these niggas losing the money, but they can't do a motherfucking thing investing. We're not talking about no handout. So you know, that's why I say, and I'll say it again, you have to start with the divinity of I'm not talking about no religion. I'm not talking about no spirituality. I'm not talking spirituality is not divinity. Motherfuckers can practice, you know, witchcraft is spirituality. Shit, you anything that you fucking with spirits, that don't mean divinity. And I'm not negating nobody's spirituality, but spirituality is not the highest level of consciousness. Divinity is the highest level of consciousness. So if it's divine, then that's the highest level. And so you have to start people on the highest level of consciousness where they connected and they tapped in. And when they tap into their consciousness, they know their responsibility to the cosmos. And then you can expect somebody would invest into the community because he understands that these is his family in the cosmic order. He gonna look out. She gonna look out. But spirituality don't mean shit. Because most of these niggas gang banging in spirituality. If you ain't on their team, nigga, you understand what I'm saying? They ain't gonna do a motherfucking thing for you. You understand? So I mean, spirituality, gang bang, just like every other sector of society. You ain't on my, you know, my particular consciousness. Well, I could care less about your ass. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, we have to connect on a higher level. But I personally hope that the brother ain't lost his paper. Y'all motherfuckers out there praying on this man downfall is some sucker shit. You see what I'm saying? He made his money fair and square fighting. And if a motherfucker, I'm thinking he's smarter than that. You know, they try to play him, you know, as they do all our athletes. He's a dumb nigga. He can run, he can jump, he can slam the ball, but he's dumb. He don't. And so I'm not playing into that Sambo shit. You know what I'm saying? But if he, you know, sometimes I guess you can on that level if you fucking with investors on Wall Street and shit like that, and a motherfucker is of a certain level and you expect them to do something for you, and you expecting, I guess something like that is possible to happen. It been done before. And even to rich people. Look what happened in that motherfucking corporation of Enron. How they had lost, man, billions of dollars, man. Motherfuckers' whole life savings was gone. We talking about tens of thousands of motherfuckers had lost their life savings. They was gone. They was done for. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, and so shit can happen. Shit can happen. Look at how these banks was collapsing. People had all their fucking money in the bank, but the bank was broke. You understand, motherfucker, when they went to find out, they went to get their money out the bank and couldn't even get the shit out because they didn't have no motherfucking money. So yeah, I believe, yeah, it'd be a lot of fronting with these motherfucking so-called investors and shit, and that's some slick shit. You know, they be playing, some on play that slick shit, and they be of a certain level where you would expect that they gonna do what they say. They ain't just no little nigga on the bottom, you know, no little Neanderthal. They motherfuckers already fucking with other big name individuals. And so you would expect that they would do what they say they're gonna do. So you could get played, but I don't see how. You know what I'm saying? This nigga love to count money. You know what I'm saying? He don't let no motherfucker count his money. So you nigga, 175 million motherfucking dollars, nigga, I be calling up a motherfucker every motherfucking day, 2-3 times a day. Like, nigga, what's happening? You know what we doing? Let me see something, nigga. Let me see some receipts and shit. Get them receipts. You know, get that shit on over here. Let me call. Is he, you know, I need to, you know, sign off on everything. Some people got it like that. Every fucking thing. I need to put my initials on it. And tell the motherfuckers at the bank, you got to have 2 initials on every fucking thing. You understand what? 2 initials, mine and investor, and maybe a third. A motherfucker right up under me and that gonna watch me watch this motherfucker. You feel what I'm saying? That's how you had to do shit. You know what I'm saying? You might have to have 2, 3, 4 motherfuckers watching it. That motherfucker watch him watch me watch him, and you know, and everybody watching everybody, motherfucking, but they all report to me like, nigga, what's going on? What did you get out of this? Did you make sure you're up? Yep, okay, then. Layers of checking in is necessary when that kind of money go out. So Money Mayweather, man, I hope you get your paper back. And for the sake of you know, the image of black people and black men in general, that I hope the brother ain't broke. I hope he ain't broke. You know, why everybody else out here laughing and shit, because they don't want to see black people with shit no motherfucking way. So niggas out here that hate on the man is laugh and do all that. That's sucker shit. You know what I'm saying? Change your frequency. Anyway, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, like it because you love it. Share it with your family and friends. We got some fire over there at Patreon. We're going to go to work tonight. So if you're on your comedic, you're on your melanin, solar melanin divinity, and you're ready to go into the esoterical mystery system of the Nile Valley, come on and join us on Patreon. Click the link, and I'll see y'all back here in a minute. Black Pop.